appreciate you guys coming out today.
Our pleasure.
First of all, just say your name for the camera.
My name is John T. Cade, Jr. I graduated from Manassas High in 1956.
I'm James Lynn. I graduated from Manassas in 1956 also.
All right. Well, we'll kind of just start with, and then we'll go to each one. So can you
Okay.
just tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, where you went to school?
Okay.
Just kind of background information.
Okay. I joined elementary school in 1946, which was considered St. Augustine High, and that's when I first encountered Charles Lord. And St. Augustine was kind of an elite school, because if you really want to get a good, solid education, that's why most young people were sent there to get started in life. And so that's what happened to me. But we moved out of the area. It was called Lemoyne Gardens at the time. And I moved to North Memphis after 4 years there, and then I attended Manassas in the 5th grade. And afterward, I attended 2 years at Grant Elementary School, which don't exist anymore. It's been torn down. And then I went to Manassas again in 1952, and that's where I hooked up with Charles Lord again from time period of 1952 to 1956. And
Okay. I went to St. Augustine also. I left there and I finished the 9th grade and went over to Manassas in 53.
53, yeah.
And there was running to John again, and there was also Charles Lord. And we graduated in 1956.
56.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you said you had a career in the Air Force, right?
Yeah, I left Memphis 56, joined the Air Force in August, and I remained in the Air Force for 29 years one day. I retired in 1985.
I went to the Navy. The second week school was out. Stayed up 4 years. And I came out. I worked for Bell and Howell a long time, and Shelby County Schools.
Shelby County School.
Mm-hmm. I retired from there.
Were you a teacher?
No, I wasn't teaching, no.
And you said you worked for you did the Postal Service after you graduated?
Yes, I did. Matter of fact, I worked for the post office for approximately 3 months. And one of my deliveries was here at Rhodes College back in the day. Yeah.
So you guys seem to make Memphis your home.
Correct.
Do you have any special reason why you guys chose Memphis as I know you grew up here, but
yeah.
You've gone any place to go. Why did you come?
I returned back to Memphis after being 7.5 years in the Washington, D.C. area, and it was very costly. And Memphis was more affordable. I returned here and I bought a house in 81, rented it out, and then in 85, I really made my mind up that I was gonna, return to Memphis and continue with my retirement. And afterward, like I said, I worked for the post office, I worked for FedEx, and I attended Shelby State College for a few years off and on. And I'm real pleased about being back in Memphis. Very affordable. We got some little quirks that I don't like, but on the whole, Memphis is a good city.
Particularly if you're retired. You get over, because there's not too much to do in Memphis.
Could you guys give me a little bit of a sense of what Memphis was like in the 1950s? Just kind of a brief.
In the 50s, Memphis was a real pronounced city because we had a lot of industry here. We had Firestone, we had International Harvest, we had several big trucking companies, and good school opportunities. Most of the time, from my recollection, most of the parents were either teachers, the women mainly was teachers, or nurses. And most of the men, they worked at one of the industry places like International Harvest or Firestone. And people lived very, I can't say wealthy, but very comfortable back in the days. We didn't have to want for a lot. Opportunities were great. If you just applied yourself as an individual, you could do well in Memphis. But I discovered that most of the time when people received their education, they went elsewhere, mainly Chicago. A lot of them went to Detroit, some to St. Louis. But I love Memphis. That's why I returned here and to live in '85 after my retirement from the Air Force.
You have anything to add to that? Or?
No, it's just cheaper to live here,
Right.
particularly if you retire.
There you
The
go.
jobs are not that great. Most people with education leave Memphis
Right.
because there's nothing here for you.
Right.
It need to change, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said that back in the day you used to go to a lot of the jazz shows,
Mhm.
things
Yeah.
like that. What was it like when back in the 1950s when Memphis was such a big music town? It still is today, but I know it was a very different scene. Could you talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, it was a lot of people loved jazz back in those days. It was the cool thing to do. But the music, you could talk and hear yourself talk and enjoy. People want to dance now. It's more exciting to them.
Right.
But jazz is not pushed here in Memphis. You go to other cities, you got all kind of jazz clubs.
Right.
You're lucky if you find one in Memphis.
Back in the day, how many do you think that was back in the 50s? How many clubs were looking at?
You mean clubs
Jazz
or
clubs, yeah.
jazz clubs?
Opportunities
Oh,
for
man.
musicians.
I remember Curry Tropicana Club, which I remember growing up as a young man, and we had one called the Hippodrome. I think that's the one that's on Georgia Avenue, and then we used to have one down on Bill Street, and it was upstairs. What was it?
Flamingo Room.
Flamingo Room, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
Mm.
Floyd Newman and all
Yeah.
made their career.
Right. And those was about the three main club scenes that we frequent a lot growing up.
They had Hawaiian Eye, but what's the other one down on Bellevue? The Music Box.
Yeah.
They played plenty of jazz there.
Yeah, those was two primary jazz,
Jazz,
clubs.
Club Handy had some too now
Right.
upstairs. Yeah.
And all this has been very good. If you could tell me a little bit about your experience, in particular with Charles, like what was he like? What kind of interaction did you have with him, and did you guys know the potential he had, I guess, for success back then?
Well, we recognized that when we were attending Manassas. We had a band that they put together. They called the Rhythm Bombers, and they consist of about 9 band members. And Charles was like the forefront. He was like the leader of it. And his main emphasis was coming to Manassas was to get better educated in music, because we had a good reputation from the different music teachers that taught at Manassas. But for me actually having a private encounter with Charles, I did not. I just saw him on a daily basis. His parents were well pronounced in the neighborhood. I think his father was a doctor, and his mother might have been a teacher. And one thing stood out about him: Charles wore real nice clothes. I mean, back in the day, he had suits, matching shirt, matching tie. I mean, he was real stylish. He stood out. But he wasn't a real gung-ho, but, you know, those opportunities existed for him, so naturally he took advantage of them.
Right.
And I was pleased to see him at the last concert, because I hadn't seen him since '56.
I'm sure that was good to
Yes.
Yeah.
see him.
Mm-hmm. No, we didn't interact. Charles, if you wasn't into music, he was kind of off to himself. Yeah. Quiet but studious, but still off to himself.
And you said that was the Rhythm
Rhythm
Bombers,
Bomber.
It was spelled RHTHM Bombers. And it was real popular. They pretty much provided all the music for events. They played at Curry and other surrounding clubs in the area at that time period. And I understand he left and went to California to pursue his music career further.
At UCLA, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see here. And also, could you I was reading about an event called the Annual Show. Was that around when you guys were there? It was a annual event that they put on for musicians. I don't know. That might have been put on after 50.
I think it
Probably
was
after,
because
yeah.
I don't recall
I don't
any
either.
type of program of that type
Okay, 'cause
while we were attending
the people that I
Manassas.
talked to were very
Mhm.
adamant about it, so that must have been put on
Mhm.
after you guys had graduated.
Yes.
Right.
Great.
Apparently so.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to share about your experience at Manassas? Anything that you would like to talk about?
Well, Manassas, like I say, was a very elite high school. We had excellent teachers.
Correct.
They stressed education. You know, if you didn't come there to get a good education, you had to go elsewhere because they were very adamant about students coming there and adhering to programs, doing what was right. We educated a lot of students who later became doctors, lawyers, musicians, naturally. Yeah, and I didn't realize how fortunate I was until I left Memphis in '56, and then when I joined the Air Force, I felt I was very well educated because I surpassed a lot of my fellow military people, and that's when I really knew I had grasped the best of education while the 4 years at Manassas.
Same.
Same,
No
got
different.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And final question I have for you guys, and then we can kind of build off this. The main question I'm researching in my project is that there was a sense of musical tradition that was cultivated at Manassas, and whether that there's just tons of musicians that graduated from there, and trying to figure out how and why this happened. Do you guys have a sense of living it firsthand of any reasons that you think so many musical geniuses came out of one high school?